Hello and welcome! Vintage Super League is back! We are ready for Season 4. I'm Randy Bueller, joined by Tom Bartel. Welcome, Tom.
Thanks, Randy. Good to be here. Good to be back.
Got to give shouts out to Jeffrey Palmer. Those intro videos are so sweet. He's the animated guy. You'll see him floating around social media, but he does a great job with those. Speaking of great jobs, Tom, over the weekend, I do have to congratulate you on helping Italy win the World Team title. I booked you for the pregame last week. I had hopes maybe we'd have some other titles to talk about, but it is absolutely true that the playtest team that you and Team USA were on did manage to win the tournament.
It's true. Someone, I think Willie Edel pointed out on Twitter that I am now 3 for 3 on my teammates winning Worlds. Shahar Jenner twice, and now Team Italy. One of these days, hopefully, I get to hoist that trophy, but no, I mean, it was a lot of fun. Things didn't really break our way, unfortunately. During day one, I had a lot of really kind of frustrating rough breaks there, but that's magic.
Yeah, I mean, is there a story there? I know you've probably had a couple of days to reflect on it. What do you think the summary story is from Team USA's point of view?
I mean, our sealed pool was pretty bad. We built one good deck and then two very mediocre decks. And then went 2-1. I had the good deck, and then I lost a round. Just got mana screwed, and then lost to two Planeswalkers in game two. And unfortunately, that round, Neil wasn't able to get there with kind of our second best deck. So we stranded a Siggy win and went 1-2 that round. And so we 2-1 sealed. Still felt great coming out of sealed. But really, the story for Constructed for us was just mulligans. Siggy played against Mono Red 3 times with the Teamer deck, which was really the deck was kind of on the team to do, and he didn't win a game. He started with 5 cards 5 times and 6 cards once.
Yikes!
So Red is the kind of deck that can really capitalize, take advantage of that. If you stumble at all, they're gonna punish you, and it is a lot of kind of just resource exchanges. So that was a pretty tough break for him. And then unfortunately, our red deck was also mulliganing a bunch in the CC, and it got some pretty tough pairings. I think if we'd flipped A and C, so I was on Esper and A, if I had been in C and our red deck was in A. By the matchups, we probably just those 2 decks alone could have carried us. But unfortunately, instead, our red deck kept running into their anti-red deck in seat C. And so they also went 1-3. That was Joel Sadowski and Neil Oliver kind of playing two-headed Constructed. And so weren't quite able to put enough together there, and unfortunately had to bow out early.
So it doesn't sound like you would actually change any of the decks or any of the big decisions. Just some bad matchups and some bad draws, and maybe too much time spent brewing vintage decks because you were thinking about tonight?
I cannot claim to have spent a lot of time on brewing vintage decks yet, and I submitted my deck yesterday. I got off the plane from Barcelona, came home, fell asleep on accident for about an hour and a half, and then frantically scrambled to put a deck together. So I will not be unleashing anything too crazy in this first trimester, but hopefully some other people have done a little better than I, and we see some sweet decks tonight.
Fair enough. So, if you guys don't know our format, we are playing the same long-form format we did in Season 1 and Season 2. We've got 10 players in the league. Welcome David Ochoa, who won the play-in tournament last week. It's a round-robin. So, over the course of the next 9 weeks, you will see everybody get paired against everybody else. And then at the end of 9 weeks worth of round-robin, the top 4 will advance to the playoffs. And last place gets relegated. That is changing slightly. So the way we're going to do the relegation, we loved the play-in tournament. I thought that was awesome.
Agreed.
And there's been a little bit of talk. Are we supposed to relegate more than one person just to get a little bit more turnover in the league? Not clear. I mean, nobody wants to leave. I think there's this tension of nobody wants to wind up there. So what we're going to do is anybody who is tied for last goes down to the next play-in tournament. So the play-in tournament will have at least one spot on the line for Season 5. Might be more than one spot, though. It just depends whether anybody winds up tied for last. So we will not break last place ties. We'll just send that, however many spots that is, will be determined by the next play-in tournament. And, of course, all the people in that tie will be invited to the play-in tournament as well. I kind of like that twist.
I like it a lot. I think it's fun to mix things up. I think it's good. For me personally, at some point, I'm going to want to take a break. But having there be more spots to come back to is kind of nice and makes you feel a little better about sitting out. Because right now, if you opt out and your spot gets taken by someone else, you have to win an 8-man to get back in. That could take a while. And so, here if it's 2, 3, 4 spots getting churned, and getting a little more new blood each season will be great. This season adding Webb. I mean, he's a longtime vintage player. I've been playing vintage with him, in real life, personally, kind of, in real life, real Magic, physical Magic, vintage with him for a decade or more. So excited to see kind of what he unleashes here. He certainly has actually has a decent range. I think most recently he's been really known for workshops, but he used to play a ton of kind of Trigon Predator Control back before that. So he's certainly experienced with various archetypes, and I think he could bust out some old school stuff here. Wouldn't be surprised if at some point Mystic Remora make an appearance out of an Ochoa deck. He's definitely been known to play that card. So I'm excited to see what he does.
That is definitely one of the fun things going on tonight too. Is that we haven't done this with Super League for a while. None of us know the deck lists. Like, we all submitted deck lists to the producer and the graphics guy. I mean, it's Athena and Steve Berkland. But none of us know each other's deck lists, so we're going to be playing Magic, the way you would play at a normal sort of in-real-life tournament. We don't have deck lists, and even the commentators, like, we're about to do commentary on Chris Pickle and Rich Shea. I don't know what they're playing. I'm curious, actually, to hear your take on what you think they might be playing.
Sure. I mean, Chris is certainly known in these seasons to play shops. And so my guess is he's probably... Everyone also knows that, so there's this metagaming leveling element going on there.
Yes.
So last season, he played shops. He played your Belcher deck.
Yep.
And I forget what his third deck was. He might have run one of those two back. If I remember, I don't remember his third deck.
Did he play Belcher twice? He might have snuck.
I think he played Belcher twice. I don't think he was one of the ones playing Merfolk, but I mean, I think shops is a big part of his range here. He needs to play the deck stuff to keep people honest. You don't want to have your opponents playing a 12-card shop sideboard, but that's my guess for his direction. And then Rich is certainly known for playing these kind of Grixis control lists. Most recently, I think he was playing the one of Dragonlord Dramoka and some green cards and a Mentor Shell.
Every time I've seen him, he's been on Monastery Mentor with... I mean, it does have Dragonlord Dramoka. The real reason that he has green, though, is for Sylvan Library.
Yep.
Sylvan Library is actually in a pretty good spot in the Vintage metagame, if you think about it, right? It doesn't get countered by any of the permission except Force of Will. Like, you can't Spell Pierce it, you can't Mental Misstep it, you can't Flusterstorm it. It's actually in this kind of interesting spot, and I think that
You can Spell Pierce it, right? Spell Pierce is spells.
You can Spell Pierce it. You can't Flusterstorm it.
All the rest of it don't work, yeah. I mean, people play, a Spell Pierce maybe, so that's not a huge... Can't Pyroblast it or whatnot, so
Pyroblast is the one I knew it was 3 counters, sorry. I would be shocked if he's not on the Mentor or Sylvan Library list, just because that seems to me to be both well-positioned and a thing that he's been having success with.
Sure. I mean, in my kind of sleep-deprived haze yesterday, as I was scouring Moto daily results for Vintage, I noticed Richard's name a few times. I think, and perhaps this was just sleep deprivation, or maybe I dreamed this last night, but I thought I saw him playing Dredge in one of them.
Really?
Although that does not seem like a Rich Shea kind of deck to me, and perhaps it was someone else and I just got the names transposed, but I vaguely remember seeing Richard's name next to Dredge, so we'll see. Maybe he goes in that direction. It's sort of... Dredge has had an interesting history here in VSL, as I know you're aware. It's been pretty good to me.
He only went 0-10 in Season 3. No big deal. Just
it did. It did, but I mean, I managed to do, I think I 3-0'd one of the trimesters in Season 2 with it. I mean, the deck's very powerful.
Yeah, the first season it had some success, that's true.
So I do think, there's that that tension there over, kind of which, if people start cutting sideboard cards, it gets better and better.
Right.
Keeping people honest is a big part of this.
Totally.
And just knowing the people you play against, you can really heavily influence your deck decisions because people have biases. For this, I mean, in that case, for this trimester, I actually don't know who I play, so that did not influence my deck design decision, but it really should have influenced everyone else's. So we'll see. I know from talking to Luis earlier about his deck selection, that it heavily influenced him who he was playing.
Yeah.
He definitely used that information to come up with what he was going to mention So we'll see.
Luis would be thinking about me in my range, so we'll see how that plays out. I do want to mention what we're playing for, by the way. First place for Vintage Super League is going to be mostly it's the pride. Mostly it's being able to say you're a Vintage Super League champion. But in addition to that, important stuff. It is a foil set of Vintage Masters on Magic Online, so get to have all your power be a little shiny next time around. And the one that I haven't mentioned this, I don't even know if I've mentioned this to the league, but we have another one of our sponsors, Wormwood Gaming, makes these awesome wood customized deck boxes. So this is actually like engraved with my name on the inside of it, and they're gorgeous. I think this is the Bolivian rosewood model. So may have seen their ad going through if you're watching the pregame. They do have a discount on these deck boxes. If you put in the code Vintage Super League, you get, I think it's free shipping and a discount on the boxes. They're just gorgeous. I don't know if you've seen them. If you get the chance to see these in real life, they are absolutely gorgeous. And they're giving one to the winner. So the winner gets the opportunity to, what kind of wood do you want it made out of? What do you want engraved in it? How do you want this thing customized as essentially the Vintage Super League trophy?
We should come up with, I think, maybe as a group, what that's going to. You should probably have like the gemstones, so, imitation gemstones for the five colors that represent the box, and because something cool.
Yeah, no, the guy that runs the company seems super willing to just work with us to customize what would be sort of the ultimate giveaway for the winner.
That's awesome. Yeah, that would be sweet. Having VSL season. So this is season 3, 4.
Yeah, I'm counting 3
already.
We had season 3 was the mini season. That was the sort of 3-week double elim thing that we did.
Sure.
You could call this 3.5. I mean, I recognize that one was not quite as prestigious, but what are you gonna do?
They're all seasons. You still have to beat a lot of very good players to win that one, so I think it should still count.
It's funny. I don't even know if you knew this was coming, but I like your segue. I actually put together lifetime records for Vintage Super League.
I don't want to see these.
I got the graphic.
Oh, great.
We could put this
up. That's not our country. I can't win at Vintage.
You're like middle of the pack, Tom. You are below 50-50. But I mean, look, obviously everybody in the league is tough. All the matches are tough. Look at Ifro, though. I mean, I knew he'd been doing well historically in VSL, but look at that record. He averages second place, does Eric Froelich, with a 64% winning percentage against this crew.
That's pretty outstanding.
Yeah, I was wandering around at just barely above 500 until I did make the big run in season 3, which was nice. Chris has also been doing pretty consistently, decent with the good run in season 2. Luis was in better shape before the O2 with workshops. I will be honest, I do not put him on workshops after his O2 exit from season 3. The one time he tried to run them.
I don't think Luis is the kind of player who can look at the data and I think this is the same thing you see with looking at Dredge is you don't want to overweight kind of recency bias or its performance in a small sample. And these are decks that have had tremendous success at scale. I mean, Luis certainly prefers to play blue spells. I mean, that's no secret. Right. So I guess his range in general will be heavily biased in that direction.
Sure. I think he's capable of saying, oh, that was a good deck, but it went 0-2. But it didn't have any blue cards in it.
Yeah.
Do not see him going back to that. Yeah, and then Menendian's obviously the third champ, so... There you go, lifetime VSL records. We can keep track of these. I can put them on the website. We can have sort of consequences for all of our bad deck decisions.
I've made a few of those. I mean, I'm hoping to do better than my 0-3 start. I think I've almost patented that at this point. I think I did it both seasons, so hopefully I can get a W tonight.
Same. So I mentioned Wormwood Gaming. I do want to also mention our other sponsor, Puka Trade. Puka Trade is a great website. I've actually, I'm going to go play Legacy in real life for, I don't think I've played a Legacy tournament. There's one at the local game store this weekend. Because Legacy wasn't, I played Type 1.5 back in the day, which I guess turned into Legacy, but I went inside Wizards, and then the Legacy format kind of became what it became. And since I've gotten back out, and they've made it where I'm allowed to play tournaments again. My wife still works at Wizards, that's why I can't just play any tournament I want to. I'm bound by the sort of employee play policies, even though I'm no longer an employee. But Legacy, so I decided I wanted to battle Legacy, and I decided I was going to try a crazy deck. I wanted to build Tin Fins. And so
I saw the Facebook thread you had discussing what deck to play.
Yeah, people were suggesting all kinds of crazy things. I decided, I wanted something combo-y, something with at least turn 1 kill potential, just because I was going to mess around with it. And that seemed like the craziest. And it goldfishes turn 1 a lot more than I was expecting. I actually tried building a vintage version of it briefly on Magic Online, but the combo is just way too intricate and complicated when there's such simpler combos in vintage.
Sure.
Anyway, so I went to Puka Trade, and I'm like, here are the cards I don't have for Legacy Tin Fins, and they're just all in the mail on the way to me for this weekend's tournament. So that has been fun.
Yeah, the site, I've used it only a little bit so far, but it's awesome. It just makes things so convenient and simple, so definitely appreciate the sponsorship there from that team. And encourage everyone watching, if you need cards, go check it out.
Yeah, and if you're not on Puka Trade, by the way, you can actually go to the VSL Patreon page, and if you click from there, you get like 300 free points to start your account with, just as essentially the joining bonus. And then if you pledge on the Patreon, there's more points, and they've got free months of their premium services available to people who are patrons of Vintage Super League as well. So they've been real big fans of the show, which has been fun to see. So, speculation for this evening. We should put the schedule up. Let's look at every match that's going to be going on tonight.
Yeah, who am I playing? I honestly don't know yet. I get Bob. Okay.
You get Bob.
I'm doing it live here tonight.
You get Bob, and you are up second. So comment on one and play the second match. Wait, this is not in order. My apologies.
Not in order, right? Yep.
This is all the matchups. This is not the order of the matchups. We are kicking off with Chris and Rich. I believe you played Bob in match number 3. Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, a lot of awesome matchups here. I mean, the feature matches here. I mean, certainly you versus LSV, but I think probably Menenian versus Ifro is going to be the headliner tonight. Two vintage powerhouses going head to head.
Yeah, somebody was talking to me on Twitter like, why did you lead with these great matchups? I'm like, they're all great matchups. It's you run a random round robin schedule and you wind up with some pretty sweet matches pretty much every week. Yeah, I'm with you. I obviously am looking forward to playing Luis. It's always fun to test yourself against kind of the best of the game. But yeah, Season 1 champ versus Season 2 champ is also quite the headline. Those are the West Coast. I'm going to do my best. We'll close.
Right, so there'll be a late match. I'll try to stay up for it. It's gonna be dodgy. Maybe I'll catch the replay tomorrow on the YouTube channel because I'll do my best to stay awake through my match.
The schedule this week was kind of easy because the two East Coast guys with jobs were paired against each other. So like, got it. Start with Rich and Chris. Let them do commentary on match 2, and then it won't be my fault if they don't go to sleep and keep watching.
Sure, you can absolve yourself of that one.
Precisely. And then, yeah, our West Coast guys, it's Eric and Steve, are the last match with me and Luis in the 4 slot, I believe.
I think me versus Bob has been a very tense match previous seasons because it's been battling to not be in last place. So we can get this one out of the way early, and one of us can be undefeated. It's going to be exciting.
Now, you said that you didn't actively think about Bob when you chose your deck list. I mean, obviously, jet lag and all. But what would you put him on now that you know he's your opponent? You have like an hour to figure this out, right? Maybe half an hour?
Yeah, Bob has, a really big range, certainly. I mean, I think he's played... I mean, I think of Bob, I think of Oath when it comes to Vintage. But, last season he also played Doomsday. He played that kind of, let's go tier 3-ish combo deck that just, it was cute, but it had to work too hard to get a combo. As you mentioned,
he had
Pins.
Right. He had like 56 out of 60 cards from a legit Vintage deck, and then it was just like, I'll have this elaborate 4-card combo to win the game instead of actually just killing my opponent easily.
Right. So, but again, it shows like, he wants to have fun, he wants to play some crazy stuff, and Bob's a very competitive guy, but I think he also appreciates just trying out new stuff, and he wants to enjoy himself. I think he's a man who likes a mana drain quite a bit. Yeah, so we're not surprised if he's somewhere in that realm of decks.
Well, it's time to find out what people are going to play. I'm super interested to see how this metagame plays out. I know that Storm has been huge. That has caused the workshops to come back in. I was not expecting the workshop on workshop battle in the play-in final that we got, so maybe that will keep the Storm decks away. I don't know. Time for match number 1. Let's head down to it.